So, hello everyone. Welcome to another indie author interview. I am here with the author of A Crown Fortune Flame, J.M. Wallace. And we are going to talk about this wonderfully amazing book today. Thank you so much for taking time to join me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I think it's really funny that sometimes we have like memories that are like associated with certain things. So I associate this because I read your book when I was on a cruise in Mexico. And so I remember like sitting on the beach and like reading the book. Couldn't put it down. Like we were there for like 4 hours and I'm like, I literally can't. Like I need to finish this. I don't want to do anything else.
I
So
love to hear that. And it takes place in like a seaside kingdom, so that's kind of perfect. I'm like a setting reader. Like I can't read like a book where it's like cold and wintry if I'm like at the pool or at the beach.
totally mood reader, but like season reader.
Yeah. Like an aesthetic, yeah.
So we can just get right into it. So tell me a little bit about when you decided that you wanted to be an author and what your path to publication was.
Okay, so I grew up mostly as an only child. My siblings are much younger than I am. And so I was always kind of, I don't want to say lonely like it's a bad thing, but I had to find ways to entertain myself. I was also a horse girl. So I spent many days riding my pony in the woods and pretending we were like in some faraway kingdom, fighting, pretending I'm a witch and, things like that. So I've always been a daydreamer. I've always had stories in my head. I just never, I guess, knew what to do with them or never believed that anyone else would be interested in those stories. So it
Mhm.
wasn't until around COVID, my family and I had just moved to a new state. Everything was shut down. I didn't know anyone. I found myself on TikTok for the first time and instantly got swept into like book talk.
Mhm.
And I saw other authors like A.K. Mulford, K.L. Morrison, and they were talking about they were sharing their journey as they were going through it. And I was completely fascinated, did not even know that like indie publishing was a thing.
Mhm.
So it really opened my eyes to this whole new world, and I decided I'm just gonna go for it. I was really just gonna write a book to say I did it, like a bucket list type of
Yeah.
thing. But then people besides my mom and my best friend actually read it and enjoyed it. So I just went from there. I have not stopped.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so when you wrote this book, did you plot, did you outline, or did you kind of just go for it?
When I started, I was not a plotter. I was 100% doing the pantser thing. But I've kind of learned that I do need some structure or I get a little carried away. So with this book, I did plot, but it's more of a skeletal outline. So there is wiggle room in there. I'm not like, we have to force this to happen. If it feels like a character is taking me another direction, or if I think of another scene that we need to do, then I'm comfortable with moving things around to make room for that.
Hmm.
So I I do try and also plot the romance so it's not too fast paced, not too slow. I like to hit the beats right so my readers are satisfied that, we're getting that tug and pull in the relationship.
Hmm. Hmm. And I think, I mean, this story, like in itself, I just thought it was like so unique. Like obviously I love dragons, so like I will read any dragon book ever. But I just thought like the whole premise of it was so unique. And like, how did you come up with that idea?
Well, the original inspiration was a wine bottle that
That's funny.
I tend to shop for wine based on pretty labels. And I saw this one. It was this beautiful girl with a dragon behind her. And I had been working on A Legacy of Darkness, that trilogy at the time. So I'm like, wow, I really need to focus on this first. So I kept the bottle. I cleaned it out. It's empty. It's still on my bookshelf today. And I just, in the back of my mind, once in a while, I would think of a scene like the meet cute. I had that planned out first, and I would just put it in the notes in my phone and save it for later. I would hear a song. It would like spur some sort of dialogue in my mind, and I would put that in my notes. So I just kind of it it evolved over the last few years into what it is today.
Cool. I like that kind of idea of gradual progression. That's pretty awesome. And so, you talked about when you were younger, like you kind of pretended like you were, in a fantasy world and stuff like that. So what do you enjoy most about writing a fantasy?
Oh, that's so hard 'cause I just adore all of it. I think when I'm starting out, when I have a brand new story, like a blank piece of paper sitting in front of me, I think the most exciting thing is creating the world. Um, and then typically the characters come after that because once I come up, I don't want to say like a vibe or aesthetic, but I'm a big Pinterest girly. So if I'm scrolling through Pinterest, I'm like, this would be cool to put into a world. Oh, this is what the forest would look like. This is the palace that we need. So I really enjoy creating the setting. So then the story kind of follows after that.
Cool. Cool.
So
What do you need in your writing space to stay focused and on task?
I I have to have noise in the background, but I don't like listening to music. And I don't understand it. I don't know why, but it has to be like a TV show. So I'll cycle through Gilmore Girls, Supernatural. Right now it's Vikings, and I have like this little TV thing I got from Target.
Oh, it's so
It's
cute.
like a little purple retro TV, and I could put my phone in it, and I have like a show playing on the side of my desk
Mm.
while I write. I just like the background noise.
And these are
But
all shows that you've seen before?
yes, it
Okay.
has to be something I've seen
Yes.
before. Otherwise,
You'll pay attention to
I'll be
that.
watching.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I just hear that I already know what's going to happen. Vampire Diaries is another one. It's like playing in the background. That and a good pen because I like to handwrite like checklists. So I
Cool.
feel like I'm accomplishing things as I go along.
I've heard the TV show thing from I think one other author or two other authors saying that they watch comfort shows as well, which is kind of cool. I think that it's kind of interesting because like you're engaging so many like different senses, like when you're listening and writing and watching, like it's all different. So it's kind of interesting. And so what is your kryptonite as a writer? What gets in your way?
Um, I'm a big procrastinator.
Hmm.
I was just talking to another author friend of mine about how tight my schedule is, my deadlines. And I was explaining that if I give myself a lot of wiggle room and a lot of time, I will put it off. And I'm turning 33 this year. You'd think I would have learned how to navigate that and not procrastinate, but it hasn't happened yet. So if I give myself tighter deadlines, then I find that the pressure really helps, especially because as an indie author, I'm making my own schedule. I'm my own boss. Um, and so there's no one to really, aside from my critique partners, yell at me and tell me to get things done.
And is this something that you do full time or is it part time? Do you have another career or?
No, I am a stay-at-home mom, but my kids are both in school now. My youngest is going into first grade. So this past year's been the first time that I've been able to sit down and work at like a 9 to 5 job. So I take them to school. I sit down and write from about 9 or 10 a.m. until I go pick them up. And then after they go to bed, I sit down and write some more. So I treat it like a full-time job.
It sounds like you fit it in to your schedule and your other responsibilities because I think that that's a really important thing to know is that I mean, of course, there's a lot of like super moms and stuff who are, career women and they, have families and such, but I think it's especially unique in writing because like you said it's so easy to distract yourself or get off task or things like that,
Yes.
especially when you have like these these pressing, things like what if your kid got sick? Like you'd have, that sort of thing. And that might for a couple of days kind of like stop you from writing or something like that. So it's managing being a mom and a writer and a wife and all that stuff.
Exactly. And I've had people say like, "Oh, wow, like you like that's amazing." But really, it's hard because
Mhm.
I am trying to juggle things at home. You know, if I have a tight deadline, I need to get a book edited. Right now, I'm going through the audio review for A Crown Forged in Flames, coming to audio this summer. Uh, but my pile of laundry is like sky high right now because I've had to push it aside to meet these deadlines. So I'm not like a super mom. I'm not that good at the balance. I've just found ways to, I'll get to the laundry app in 2 days when I'm done reviewing these. So
Well, I like that you set deadlines for yourself. I think that that's a really it's difficult to, have to set those deadlines, but at the same time, it keeps you, on a good trajectory. Um,
mhm.
so let's just start talking about the book itself. So if you had to describe a crown, I don't know why I'm looking at it, a crown fortune flames in one sentence or less. What is that sentence?
Oh,
It can be a run-on.
it can what?
It can be a run-on sentence.
Okay. We have a story about a girl who's trying to live up to her grandmother's legacy. She's had one dream, one goal her entire life to wake her family's dragon, and her magic is just not strong enough. So she finds that she has to make a tough choice between giving up some of her freedom through marriage in order to make her magic strong enough to wake the dragon, or to continue to try to do it on her own and possibly never ever reach her dream.
Beautiful. Beautiful sentence. I was just like, that's really perfect. That encompasses the book. So obviously there are many things that happen, in between those. Which you're just gonna have to read it to find out. So who was your favorite character to write and why?
I think Adelina, because I really tried to make her relatable. You know, we start out, she's working in her mother's seamstress shop. She's not this like great warrior. She's not particularly great at anything, like not perfect at anything. Um, and so she has a long way to go. And even I liked, even as she was on this journey to finding herself and to become stronger, she still didn't quite nail it all the time. We have parts she really struggles with, like defending herself physically and things like that. Even dragon riding is difficult. So I really wanted her to be relatable and real.
Mhm.
So, well, so, and she is still strong. She's, very strong in her own way, maybe a little hard-headed, but yeah, I really just enjoyed her.
And I noticed that you mentioned like riding a dragon is hard. Obviously, unfortunately, dragons don't exist in this timeline. But did you kind of like draw from like your horse riding and like use that as like inspiration? Because I've ridden a horse once. I don't know, the horse was just trained really well because I just got on the horse and like it just did what it needed to do. Like I didn't do anything. But I I really like what like we have in the Northeast we have the Big E, and that's like a big fair kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they have like horse shows, where they do the different types of, cantering and walk and all that and trotting and stuff. And I love
hmm
watching that. I just find it really, really cool. But anyway, did you take some of that, experience riding a horse? And, I mean, obviously you kind of had to learn how to control the horse and how to ride without it bucking you off.
Yeah, I did take a little bit of that. Especially we have a scene where she's learning about the different commands. I didn't want the I didn't want her to have to be verbal the whole time. I wanted her to have small little little subtle things that she could do with just her and the dragon. And it also made it a little more intimate because there is that bond, which a lot, if you ask a lot of horse people, they'll say the same thing. Sometimes if you've ridden this horse so much and you know each other so well, you can kind of read each other. So I would say Adelina does experience some of that. I also thought about it in terms of like her clothing. We have one scene where the wind kind of catches on her dress and she's like, "Oh, like not good." So I was trying to think like, okay, what would I wear riding a horse? You know, you wear like the the tighter fitting clothing. I'm trying to think of like what would hold up on a dragon because a dragon's like riding a horse times 20.
Right, right. I mean, leathers probably, and
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, so I did try to think about some of that and use it in a way unique to the story, um, and to the dragon.
Very cool. Very cool. What do you think the most challenging part of writing this book was?
Um, I did have to rework some of the action scenes. I think action scenes are always really hard in any fantasy novel, because it's a lot of blocking and it's literally all inside my head. So sometimes it's hard to get some perspective on it. And it makes sense to me because I'm seeing it, but did I put enough description on paper? So that's where my critique partners and my beta readers like really came in and saved the day. Because they could easily be like, I don't understand, how are they in that position? Or wait, where did he go? He was just right here. Where is he now? So I definitely relied on my team a lot for that.
I totally agree that, like battle scenes and stuff are the most difficult. I know that there is this person on TikTok and she does like martial arts and stuff, and she would do like four authors, like this is how you would do like a hand-to-hand fight scene. This is how you would do one with a sword, and it was pretty interesting. It was pretty cool, but I can imagine those are hard because like you said, you do blocking just like you're in a play or something like that, and you have to make sure that you're being congruent, and consistent.
Yeah, I need to find her because that would be really
I
helpful.
tried to find
If there was like a book.
Illustrator and I tried to find it and I can't find it, but I know I saw it and I must have like saved it on TikTok. I'll have to look. But I save a lot of videos.
Right, they get lost.
Um,
I do find myself watching when I'm getting ready to write heavy like battle stuff. I do try to watch shows that I can kind of, so then it kind of gets me thinking. I'm like paying attention to their footwork or how they're, you know, doing a like hitting someone or blocking someone from hitting them. So like a lot of Vikings, a lot of the Last Kingdom and things like that usually help get me thinking.
smart idea. Smart idea. And do you have a favorite quote from this book?
Probably the one where either burn them or the one I don't want to misquote myself. Um she's like, "You mean to tell me that while we were running for our lives, you were thinking about how much you wanted to bed me or to sleep with me?" I really enjoy that. Pretty much any of the banter
Yes. Yes. Love banter.
is
Love
my
good.
favorite.
And so sometimes, when we write, we visualize our characters, looking a certain way. Is there anybody, actress, actor, model that exists that makes you think of your main characters?
Yes. And I'm gonna forget their names right now. Oh, Tom Blythe, is that right?
What is he from?
Um, he was just in the Hunger Games prequel. Is his name Tom?
The one who plays Snow?
Yes, Tom Blythe.
Yeah.
Yes, but he was just I just saw him in Billy the Kid. It's on Amazon Prime, and he has dark hair in that one, and 100% I was like, that is the love interest in
Mm,
this. I'll have to send you a picture when we're done. It's like spot on. And then I'm really bad with actors and actress names. The redheaded girl from Stranger Things.
Sadie Sink.
Yes. I would picture someone like her. The actresses are always a little harder because anyone popular right now, I feel like looks very young. So, or I'm watching shows that were made way back when and now
Yeah,
they're
totally
our
believe
age. So,
that.
yeah.
Cool, cool. I like those choices. I really like those choices. All right, so let's just go and move on to some fun questions, things that, I would want to know, kind of getting to know somebody. So, other than reading, writing, um, horseback riding, taking care of your kids, all that stuff, what are some other things that you enjoy doing in your free time?
So I joke with my husband that I'm in my granny era. I like to do like I do embroidery. I was trying to learn how to knit recently, but I gave up. Wasn't very good. I love to cook. I do a lot with, so we have where I live, we have a lot of local book clubs. And we moved back not this past May, or not this month, but the previous May. So we've been here for a year. I instantly joined all of those book clubs and I found girls that I just had so much in common with. So we started like a cozy club and we'll
Oh,
get together for coffee and each of us will do our own craft. Some girls color, like in a coloring book, some knit, some do embroidery. Uh, and then we've got the book clubs, which keep us pretty busy because we've got like 3 different ones going on at once. And then we just started an all-girls D&D club. So that was on accident. One night we were drinking and having a game night, and I was like, I want to start a D&D club. And I had no idea. I still don't know how to play. But then they started telling everyone, and soon we had 10 girls who were like, yes, let's do D&D.
cool.
So yeah.
Have any of them read your book?
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and I had all of them over, all the girls from book club, over for a release party for A Crown Forged in Flame. And I actually at the time was having auditions for the audiobook, but there
Hmm.
were so many people auditioning that I was starting to get panic. And I had narrowed it down to like 4 different girls, and I made everyone sit down and listen to them so they could tell me which one we needed to go with it. We all took votes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, and so my favorite question of the entire interview is who are some authors or books that you would recommend? I'm going to write these down.
Oh my gosh. I have so many. Um,
Hit me.
so if you're looking for like cozy paranormal fantasy with mom main characters, my friend Emily Fluke is amazing at that. All of her main characters are always moms, which to me is so unique because I've not read a lot of fantasy in the fantasy realm with that. If I need something spicy, I go for Kale Morrison. Um, oh gosh. Now I'm like overwhelmed with all the all the options. Um, my go-to like comfort read though is always like Cassandra Clare,
Love
Mortal Instrument
Cassandra.
books.
Yeah. Yeah. Ultimate,
So if I
ultimate favorite. I have
yeah, if I need
um
something.
let's see, I have the first one, a paperback, and then I went to oh, this is all tabbed. I went to like the release for this, like in New York City, and it was
Oh,
like literally like 3 in the morning. It was crazy, but it was so worth it to like be the first one to get it. But
oh, I
I
absolutely
love
would
Patsy
have.
Claire.
I also drove pretty far to see Holly Black
Love
in
Holly
person.
Black. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then my current read right now is by a debut fantasy author, Kate Cunningham.
Cool.
Yeah, it's called The Blood Kingdom. We actually traded books because hers has vampires and I too have a vampire standalone. So we just traded those and it's been fun like texting each other our annotations for each other's books.
So cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. So some
Oh,
really good
this is
recommendations.
my cat joined us.
Let's see. And so if you had to give advice to either a younger you or an author who's just starting out who wants to write a book, what advice would you give that person?
Uh, Lean into your community. Really find people who have like shared interests with you, who are gonna root for you and not secretly be waiting for you to fail. Find people who are gonna really help you through the process because I honestly, I would have never started any of this if I hadn't seen those authors already on Book Talk sharing so much of their journey, like actually sharing what's working and what's not. I would have never had the courage to start if it wasn't for them. Without my critique group, I seriously I can't go like a day without talking to them. And we've been together for like 3 years now, all of us. So find people who are going to support you and love you and really just surround yourself with that kind of thing because it can get very lonely too, being a writer.
No, for sure. I mean, you don't go into the office every day, like you don't have that. So you kind of have to seek out your community, like you said. And I
Mhm.
completely agree with what you're saying. I think that that's what I love most about the indie community is that everyone
Yeah,
just is very supportive. I mean, even me as a reader, like in asking people to do interviews and, just asking them questions, about things. Like authors, like they'll indie authors just seem to just respond, which is just so cool. Because
yes.
I was always traditionally, I was always trad and I'm not gonna get a response from Cassie Clare. Like she's not gonna answer
Right.
most likely. But it doesn't mean that, an indie author means any less. I think it's just such a great community. Everybody's just so willing to help, which is just so nice to
Yeah,
see in this world.
very much. Yeah.
And so we'll skip the music question because you said that you don't listen to music.
Well,
Um,
I
but
do in the shower. I do get a lot of inspiration or in the car.
is there any like specific song that like comes to mind when you think of this book?
I think I actually have a playlist on Spotify.
Oh,
Um, I'm not sure that any particular song comes to mind for it. But I listen to a lot of like gothic country or like outlaw country. Some of the grittier stuff. So that usually um brings some inspiration when I'm
cool,
writing.
cool. And so you said that, obviously, like this is kind of set in like a seaside kingdom. So is there anywhere that you have traveled or that exists in the world, that kind of inspired you when you were kind of describing creating yours?
Ah, no, it's a lot of my daydreaming because I wish I could travel to all these places and I will one day. We were living in Cape Cod at the time, so we were on the coast in a beachy town. Just this, I believe Asterfall would be a little more tropical than New England beaches.
Hmm.
But yeah, a lot of Pinterest.
I love Pinterest. I love like making aesthetics and stuff like that. It's so cool.
Yeah, I have like boards for each of my books. They're public. Like I put the aesthetic that kind of like the things that I was seeing as I was writing. I
That's
saved
really
those
cool
in.
because then people can, kind of look and see what kind of inspired you.
Yeah.
And so do you have any upcoming events at all? Any signings or anything that you'll be doing?
I have a signing tomorrow at Barnes and Noble in Jacksonville, North Carolina. It's actually a multi-author signing. Kai Stevens will be there, and then two other romance authors as well. Next weekend, I'll be at Imaginarium in DC, and then I I'll be doing little local events around North Carolina, Eastern North Carolina, throughout the summer. Trying to go to there's a bookshop called the Lazy Daisy where I live, and it's like a camp camper turned bookstore. So I'll be doing events with her and then hopefully some more next year.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you guys haven't read it, Crown Forged in Flame is out now. It is available on Kindle Unlimited.
It is.
Okay. And so you did mention summer 2024, we're going to be getting an audiobook for this.
Yes.
And when is the next book coming out? Do you know? Can you say?
Fall.
Fall?
This
Okay.
fall.
Cool. Cool.
No official date yet.
We don't have to wait too long because it's already going to be like middle to end of June when this posts. So, that's pretty awesome. That's pretty awesome. So thank you so much for taking time to chat with me today. It's been wonderful chatting with you, and I hope that you had just as great a time as I did.
Thank you. I did. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Bye.